Very welcome to second part in this little investigation about opening a new front. So we saw some interesting endgames last time. If you remember, maybe we had this bishop versus knight endgame where white had to sack a pawn in order to make it possible to enter with a king. What else did we see last time? Good question. We had some bishop endgame, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the endgame Pepe Cuenca with white pieces. Yeah, you remember there was a bad bishop on d2 and there was a good bishop on d8, and somehow black arranged the Zugzwang. They were able to later on push f4, and white was not able to meet that move in any way. Black was playing on both flanks, so to speak. Anyway, let's get going with the things that I have prepared for today. So here is my first case. Let's see here. Courses, import. Let's see here if I can get this right. Import. All right. I hope you can see a position here. This game between Gupta with the white pieces and Sargsyan playing black. All right. We can see that in this endgame, white is having some pressure against the pawn on c6. It's time for black to protect that pawn somehow. In the game, black played the move king d7. So at this point, it's hi Google says. So at this point, it's your move. All right, I'll issue the quiz. I think it's not so difficult to see the idea, but please be a little careful with your move. I think it's your move number 4. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes for this little challenge. Why to play and get a winning advantage. Okay, Greg Shahid, you got it very quickly. Excellent work. So a lot of people are on the wrong track here. If you attack that pawn, I'll defend it, okay? I'll defend it and then I'll chase away your king, if I'm not mistaken. I understand, Eric and Google Chess. Your idea is correct. However, I have Subham also. I understand your idea, but I have a strong reply at that very moment, I think. Don't forget that I also have a passed pawn, right? Well, I'm the only one having a passed pawn in your variation. And then what else? Adi Chess, you got the right idea, but I guess I won't swap the second rook then. I'll keep that rook. All right. Chesrayo Pikachu, interesting idea. Well, maybe I should give you half a point for that, but well, probably not, because the other variation is so forcing. And it basically wins the game on the spot. So we only have one winner so far. Only Greg Shahid was able to repeat what the Indian Grandmaster played in the game. Oh, but Troy Boy also got it. That's excellent news. All right, so we have 2 winners. And some people were very close. 3 winners. RZ 2018 also got it. Here I can see that if you spend some time on finding the solutions, you have more success. So don't try to get it in 30 seconds. Take your time, okay? All right, so time's up. Let's listen to... Yeah, maybe L008, maybe. Who knows? Let's ask Troy Boy about this one. All right, Troy Boy, you're on. You have the white pieces and you can also talk if you like. Okay, so d5, white gives up a pawn. Why do they do that? Well, white has discovered that there is another weakness in this position. Aha. So here we go, and this move is very important because some people were saying here the move king f4. Just like Eric is saying, if king f4, which looks very logical, well, black could play then bishop c3. So in this way, they get ready to play d4. After all, black has this passed pawn, so we shouldn't underestimate it. All right, so let's continue with Troy Boy. All right, you can continue. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll give back the pawn. All right, please go ahead. So bishop d4 first, and now as you can see, black suddenly appears with several weaknesses. Yeah, this is the most critical weakness, obviously. But actually there are more. So if I play, let's say to Troy Boy, I play here bishop f8. You have at least 2 ways to win here, right? Which one do you like the most? Well, both are good, so I think there is no way you can mess this up. Exactly. So here we have the same topic of 2 weaknesses again present. No, Black is unable to defend both. Both weaknesses, and that's basically what happened in the game. You could also play here. I think in the game they play something else. Yeah, but just for the sake of clarity, of course, that's what I'm saying, Troy. You can also bring in the king first, take that pawn, and maybe then you can actually. You can perhaps even go back with the king, and then you can pick up the other pawn if you like. I like both options. I think both are equally possible. Let's see if I can bring up the game just to see how the game ended. So in the game, I think they played after bishop d4. They played king d7. Right, they just gave up the pawn. So yeah, you can continue, Troy boy. Yeah, this is not so difficult. Of course, bishop takes, bishop d2. And here you have several ways in which you can win, but the most practical one, definitely. Well, I wouldn't say that's the most practical one because, or okay, let's see what Troy boy has in mind. But I mean, if you play bishop f4, do you have some slight hope of saving this? Maybe if I take and I play d4, or am I missing something? Maybe you shouldn't enter this, right? Yeah, L008, you got it. Aha. So we're very close to getting this pawn. Actually, we should just remove the defender, right? So yeah, it's game over, and I think here black played bishop c1, and yeah, we arrived at the last move in the game. Yeah, that's exactly how the game went, and black resigned. So finally, this pawn is picked up. Interestingly, if you notice, the chessboard doesn't even allow the black bishop to defend both these pawns at the same time. I mean, there is no e9 square, right, where they could theoretically cover that pawn. So yeah, impossible. Also, I guess you can play f4 if you like and pick up the pawn. Both moves seem good enough. So yeah, thanks, Troy boy. Great work. So if we go back to the initial position, you can see that black has some difficulties here. They played in the game king d7, and white hurried to play this very pretty move d5, giving up that pawn in order to attack that weakness, opening up a new front, so to speak. There was no other way in which they could really attack this. They could attack this pawn. Sorry, I mixed it up, of course. Yeah, we should first swap the rooks. Aha. And then bishop d4. And as you can see, this is simple now. Black is having a huge problem with this pawn. And these pawns are also weaknesses, you could say. What else? Yeah, if you play bishop d4 immediately, you give me a chance to keep the rooks. So I would say, generally speaking, keeping the rooks is a good idea in the endgame when you're worse. When you're worse, it makes sense to keep the rooks on the board. So here, I think there should still be chances of saving this endgame one way or another. I don't know. Maybe you can put the rook on, yeah, what do you think, on b4 or on e4? Yeah, something like that. I'm just speaking about the principle, right? To try to create counterplay somehow. Or maybe you can play something better here. I don't know. What else? Maybe you can play king e6, and if check, you can play bishop d6. Is that possible? Or is there some tactical issue? Well, that's a bit confusing. In any case, I'm just trying to say that this is less clear than if you swap all the rooks. All right. I have another question for you. I mean, this is how Sargsyan played in the game, but he made a mistake, no? So what should black have played here? Anyone? What would you have played with black? What do you think? Or maybe I should I quiz you on this one? But it's very simple. It's very simple. So okay, I'll quiz you. All right. So you get only 45 seconds. How to defend black? Right. Adi Chess, HDI Chess, Mega Charts Rex, Rex Ahead, L008, Hong Pao. Yeah, I mean also by Medina Tiger Tactical Magician, Google Chess. Also by the method of elimination, we can establish that this must be the right choice. Okay, a lot of people got it right. The Google Chess, Quoki, Robo, Smiling Floor, and so on. Aditea. All right. Yeah, I don't even have space enough to see all the names of all of those who got it. So you got it right, most of you. So correct. Let's check Adi Chess on this one. All right, Adi Chess, you can play black here. So what's up, Adi Chess?
So I played king d5 just to stop d5.
Right. And if I attack the pawn?
And then I just play rook f8 just to like defend the pawn.
Right. So you didn't venture on this, right? Some other people were saying
Yeah,
bishop check.
I don't really see like the point because like you're definitely not going for a win here. So like you can just
Right.
like, take your pawn.
But here probably you're in trouble. No, so those of you who said this, you simply missed, I guess, that I can just go back with the king, and I'm a pawn up. No reason to give away that pawn, I guess. Um, yeah, okay. Thanks, Adi Chess. That's right. That's the way we should play. And I would like to ask everybody, why do you think he didn't play King D5 in the game? I mean, after all, this is a very strong grandmaster. And how come he played King D7 and not King D5? I have a theory, but I would like to hear your theory about what might be the reason why he didn't play it. Time pressure. Okay, but even if it's time pressure, I did chess. I mean, you would still play like the moves you think are the most the safest moves, right? Aha. My only theory here is that somehow he was scared of bishop d2. Interesting. Yeah, maybe bishop d2 also to be considered. I see what you mean. Aha, so that the rook can go to c5. Yeah, maybe he didn't have enough time to calculate all the variations. I guess that he can just take the pawn, right? I cannot see what should be the big issue. I can always come back. My theory was that he didn't like the looks of rook c5 check at some point, the exchange sacrifice. So I thought maybe he was thinking of something like this, and then rook c5. So I had a little look at this variation also. I had a little look at this variation, and I was saying that we should probably play here the move king d6. Yeah, if you play king e6, white can give check anyway. So I would like to ask you also, what do you think is black's best move here? Maybe he was afraid of this. He said white is very active and they have a passed pawn and so on. Anyway, what do you think black should play here? What should you normally do when you're the exchange up in an endgame? When we are, okay, I'll type it here. When we are exchange up in the endgame, we like to... Aha, so chess Rio, trade rooks. Yeah, everybody got this. Excellent. We want to trade our opponent's remaining rook for the simple reason that we have two pieces doing basically the same thing, right? While they have two pieces which are doing different things. So they will surely be missing that rook if you can simplify it like that. So I agree with you guys. Rook a8 is, in my opinion, also the best move for black. So I had a little look at this. I thought, yeah, the rooks are redundant, says Carsten Müller. Okay, very good point. Redundant, that's probably the exact word to describe this situation. Aha. So it also applies when you have rook versus two minor pieces, right? It's also makes sense. If you have two rooks against one rook and one knight and one bishop, for example, usually it makes sense to swap off their remaining rook. Aha. All right. So I had a look at this variation, and I must admit that when I first looked at it with black, I felt it was a little scary. But actually nothing to be afraid of here. Because, yeah, how would you continue with black? Yeah, of course. Rook a7 says Mega Charles Rex. You have seen, of course, that d5 is not dangerous for you. It's a bad move from white. Aha, you can just play c5. Exactly. You save your rook and you get the pawn. So what if I play Mega Charles Rex, if I play here bishop f4 instead, and I go to take the pawn? Aren't you scared of that? No? Aha, you're right, Mega Charles Rex. Exactly. We should play this endgame in active fashion. So basically that's it. Black is now winning here, because if bishop takes, we will queen and they won't, right? I hope we're on the same page here, guys, right? Everybody's agreeing with me. Yeah, Troy Boy says rook takes d7. Exactly. And you can take or you can advance. I guess it's same thing. You'll queen and they won't queen, since they have, yeah, for several reasons, black will win this endgame. So basically, white will have to play something else, but it's clear that it's black who has chances of winning this endgame. So there is nothing to worry about, really. I don't know. Maybe bishop e3 and white won't lose, I guess, or maybe some Zugzwang situation. Or what do you think? Anyone very clever here could tell what's going on, or is it going to be a draw? Maybe it will be a draw after all. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll try to bring in the king, but I guess first we should move the rook somewhere, right? I don't know, put the rook somewhere, maybe to wait and try to bring in the king. Anyway, black is the one probably playing for a win here. So maybe it's always interesting to look at chess psychology. Maybe that's the reason why he didn't play king d5. He was scared of some rook c5 idea, but he should have played it. C5, says Ryo. All right, I mean, active defense. I like the whole concept, but all right, I'll take that pawn. What did you have in mind? Fortress. Wow, you think so? But I have dynamics on the king side, right? So how does your fortress work, Chess Ryo? You will put a rook on c6, is that so? But very passive, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know if you say so, but I have some like bad feelings about this. Um, Maybe white can play rook c4. Maybe it's time to open up a new front. Maybe I can take with a rook and somehow harass you on this side. Um, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe this also works for black, but yeah, slightly. Oh, bishop d2. Yeah, this makes sense. I mean, right from a general point of view, to swap pieces and get to rook on him. But I guess there is some idea with a pin, right? So what do you play against rook d1? Yeah, I think we're on the wrong track here.
Yeah, I've wondered that.
Aha. So probably your idea looks nice, but probably it's safer just to stick to the idea here and just play king d5. That's basically it. But king d7, please everybody notice king f4 doesn't make sense. I can play rook f8 and then I can chase away the king. What does make sense is d5. So white gives up the pawn in order to play bishop d4. All right, so I think it's a good moment to continue. I would like to show you something which occurred just a few weeks ago in the Bundesliga, German Bundesliga. That's a fantastic tournament. I like very much to watch those games. There are so many strong players in the Bundesliga, and one of them is actually former world champion Anand, and he had a very nice endgame in the last round of the Bundesliga. So that's what I would like to show you at this point, where we can see this idea in action. So here we have Anand's game from the Bundesliga. Playing black is Nestorovic, grandmaster from Serbia, I think. As you can see, this is a kind of double-edged endgame. I wanted some endgame position with queens also, so that's why I picked this one, by the way. So anyone, would you like to write in the chat what do you think about this endgame? Anybody could make some kind of summary about this position. What do you think about it? Anyone? What do you think, for example, about the placement of the queens? White is a little better, says Robo. Yeah, I agree with you. It must be favorable for white in the first place to have a passed pawn, right? Something that black hasn't. So black has this kind of bad majority. They can play c4, but white will never take, so to speak. Aha. No, not Bundesliga. The Bundesliga, like German Bundesliga. I cannot pronounce it. I'm not speaking German very well, but I think they would pronounce it that same way. If somebody speaks better German, please let me know. But Bundesliga is how I refer to, how I know this competition. The team competition in Germany, where like in soccer, like Bayern Munich and so on. Well, I hope everybody understands. Yeah, the chess Bundesliga. Yeah, exactly. So let's go back to speak about the position, okay? So let's see if we can understand this. White is happy to have a passed pawn, of course, and they're very happy to have the queen behind the passed pawn, like if it were rooks, right? I mean, this principle also applies to the queens. It's better for us usually to have our queen or our rook behind the passed pawn than in front of it, no matter if it's ours or theirs. However, this is probably not enough for white to win the game. It's not so easy for white to drive away the black queen. I mean, we can use the knight for that, but it's not so easy to get there. I mean, you can play knight e5, but okay, I'm keeping track of the c7 square. And also, I might be able to play knight e4. All right. So Medina Tiger says, I think white is better since as soon as the knight leaves on e6, white will knight e5, c7. So after white goes knight e5, black will try to move his king, but that runs into some queen e5. Interesting theory. Yeah, knight e5. But I mean, the moment you play queen e5, I'll take the pawn, I guess. I have no worries there. And also, I guess if you play knight e5, I had a look at this. I'll play knight e4. You can play knight c7, but as you know, knight and queen is a dangerous team. So anyone, what do you think black would play here? Some cheap tactics, maybe. What do you think? No, I won't quiz this one. This is basic tactics. Yeah, Pikachu, you got it. Queen f6, of course. So as you can see, we have the threat already of knight f3 or knight e2. And also, let me tell you that the white knight is starting to look a little exposed, I would say. I mean, I understand that in the last turn, if I play queen c6, you were thinking about playing a6 and try to queen. But if I play first queen f6, I'll argue that I'll try to move away your queen from the a file. So if you put the queen just randomly on d1, for example, I would probably consider a move like queen c6. And if I'm not mistaken, white has serious trouble with this knight, right? So I don't think this works out so well for white. All right. But anyway, a great analysis by Medina Tiger. Yeah, white is better and black is somehow tied to this passed pawn. So what else? Maybe queen d6 and queen e5. Who is playing queen d6? I don't follow. Please, let's stick to the topic here, right? Let's stick to the topic of this endgame and so on. So what else? I'll quiz you then. I'll quiz you. But RZ is saying something after queen f6, queen d1, then queen d6. All right, I understand what you mean. So if knight e5, knight e4, knight c7, queen f6, you're saying that you'll play queen d6. All right, I would say queen c6, but your move is better, I guess, for some subtle reason. I could play knight a8 though, couldn't I? And I could bring it to b6. Knight takes b5, says Pikachu. Is that possible? I don't think so. Your tactics must be better than mine because, as far as I can see, I'm catching the pawn. Never mind. I'll set up the quiz, okay? I'll set up the quiz. Yeah, leave the politics for later or whatever you're speaking about, guys. I'm about to turn this chat into private if you continue with those history, themed topics. All right, let's bring up the quiz here. Let's see. I'll ask you for just 2 moves, okay? 1 minute 20. All right. Oh, it isn't politics. Okay, but let's focus on chess, right? All right, interesting suggestions here. I see. So Medina Tiger, you're very close. Charles and Aditya, you are considering the move that we were looking at, right? 95. Wow, a lot of interesting moves here coming up. But little grandmaster, you're blundering the pawn. And also HDI chess, you're giving me the a pawn. Are you sure that's a good idea? Interesting idea from Eric, Robo, and Hongpao. But you're on that. Okay, we have a winner. Sabham got this one. You follow the footsteps of Anand. Nice. What's wrong with c3? I don't know. We'll have a look now. We'll have a look at this point. Okay, we had many moves coming up. L008, you were also very close. Let's go step by step. Some people are saying c4. I mean, I understand the move. You're trying to get your knight stronghold on c4, but I'm pretty sure I would take. And well, how should we understand this? If I now play b4, you're going to go back with the queen? Is that so? And if I then play knight e4, you will play... Oh, you have problems with... Can you hear me properly, guys? Some problem with the internet? Anyway, no, okay, fine. It was maybe something temporary. So, is this bad for black, you mean? I'm about to take this pawn, right? Is there some issue here? I can't see the problem for black. You would then play queen a2? Is that the idea? Okay, thanks. You can hear me. Excellent. I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this. I don't know if I can play something like knight check and knight c3 maybe. Or am I messing it up with the black pieces? I must say c4 is a little counterintuitive for the simple reason that you undouble my pawns and you give me a pass pawn to me also. But apart from that, I don't know. Maybe knight e4 also is possible. What do you think? Did I blunder something or can I play like this? So if queen takes, I'll take here, and I was expecting to take there next turn, right? All right, I think I will leave the move c4 unless somebody would like to insist that it's a good move. I'll leave it. So c3, like Addy Chess, Tactical Magician, and Quacky says, I'll just reply in the same way. Yeah, it's the same thing. So I don't know. I haven't checked this variation, but I have my suspicions that black should be okay here in this position. Also, I guess I have knight c6 coming up if you play some move like king h1, maybe queen d2 here, says Addy Chess. All right, then I'll think about knight c6. Have you noticed one thing here, guys? We're only speaking so far about the queen side. I have the feeling that we're mostly speaking about the queen side. But actually, the answer lies in looking at the king side as well. Okay. What else? What else to look at this point? 95, yeah. Some people are saying this, but it's exactly the move that we're talking about. So I claim that black has counterplay here. Like we saw this knight c7, queen f6. If somebody thought about knight takes before, I guess the problem is that I can again go queen f6, right? Unless there is something even better. So don't do that. Yeah. So the right move is like Sabham said. Okay, Sabham, you can move if you like. Sabham will take it from here. All right. Please go ahead.
All right. Can you hear me?
Sure. Please go ahead.
All right. I tried knight f5 to stop knight d4.
Right.
And there's no like g6 stuff. And I think he played
like
because knight h6, yeah. Yeah, then king h7. That I just played h4 just to like gain space on king side.
Right. And that's what Anand did also. Excellent.
And no like back rank stuff.
Back rank stuff, exactly. No mates anymore. And also, I guess you saw this cheap tactic. If I play g6, you saw a cheap tactic there, maybe.
Yeah, knight h6 and.
Now you can take on h6 because the pawn is protecting, so there is some mating threat here. So, and maybe what you also noticed, at least subconsciously, is that black is not having many moves to choose from here. Suddenly, black is tied up here because, I mean, the knight is protecting the mate and the queen is protecting against the pawn. So, yeah, great work. Thanks, Salham. That's excellent. So that's how the game went. And still, this position is holdable for black. But they had to play something which is, yeah, exactly, Titan chess. Black would have to do something which is difficult for most of us humans to do. They would have to just play the king like that, just wait. Not easy at all to play like that. We are always told to play actively in the endgame, the active defense and so on. Don't just play passively. However, yeah, right, you're right. White could play h5 and black should probably just go back with the king. So I'm pretty convinced that Anand would win this game anyway. But okay, he would have to continue in a subtle way here. Maybe g3, f4, king f2, and so on.
I have a question.
Sure, please go ahead, Rayo. I can give you the white pawn also if you like. So, what do you want to play, Rayo?
I want to play after h4, h5.
Yeah, okay. You know what, Rayo? That's our next quiz. So don't do it. Don't do it. We'll come to that. Let me just finish off the rest of the moves because that's what black played in the game. That's our next quiz. So just to finish off here, some people said, I mean, Anand's move was h4, right? Like Sabham was saying, gain space, avoid back rank mates, useful move, and so on. Even this tactical trick with knight takes h6 because the king could not go to g5. All right, but some people are saying here queen a5. I just wanted to tell you that this doesn't work. I'll just take the pawn. Thank you very much. Others were saying knight e7. I don't think this makes sense either. I would play the knight d4. I think this is somehow familiar to what we looked at. You have to be careful now about queen f6. So I'm pretty sure that Anand noticed that he didn't have any like very active move, and he said, okay, time for a useful move. I'll throw in h4. That can never be wrong. All right, so let's continue. Black should have played king g8 and waited, which is very difficult for most humans. So I'm not surprised at all that he played in the game the move h5, all right? And now actually white is about to win this endgame. So it's your move. Let's see if you can find the correct sequence here. Okay, I'll just quiz you for the next two moves. 1 minute and 10 seconds, I think that will be enough. So white to play an increased advantage. Okay. No crazy stuff, okay? Medina Tiger and Eric, maybe in a bullet game you can play like that, but not in this game. Greg Shahadi got it, of course. I now know how to pronounce Greg's last name. Sorry, Greg. It's always difficult with last names. Mine is sometimes also pronounced in the wrong way. So I know how it feels. All right, let's see if somebody else can find it. The right way to go here. HDI Chess, you're giving me the pawn. Troy Boy, you're giving me the A5 pawn. Are you sure you should do that? A lot of people are giving me the pawn. I don't understand why you're so happy to give up the pawn. Okay, Mega Charles Rex, you got it. Hong Pao, you got it. Excellent work. That's exactly what great Viswanathan Anand played in the game. Excellent work. So, why was h5 such a big mistake? Like they say, every pawn move implies some kind of weakening. That's what happened in this game. So we'll ask Hong Pao on this one. All right, Hong Pao, how do you continue with the white pieces here? Knight g3, what a clever move. We're provoking g6. This would normally be a very good pawn structure in the endgame. However, not in this case, because black's pieces are very much tied up. As you can see now, not only there is this problem with knight f6 coming up, but also I cannot play this move knight d4 anymore, right, Hong Pao? This is not working for me. What would white play? Of course, you just take the pawn and you're a sound pawn up. I mean, I can play still queen f6, but you could just look for some solid move here, like, I guess, moving away the queen or perhaps even king f1, I don't know. Yeah, queen d1 looks excellent. So this must be very good for white. We won a pawn for nothing. So nice work. Thanks, Hong Pao. That's the right move. Knight g3. We're forcing them to play g6, and now knight e4. Things suddenly look really difficult for black here. So let's see what happened in the game. In the game, they played here the move. I mean, if you wanted to discuss the other moves here, of course, we can discuss them also. But some people are saying queen e5, for example. I guess you were trying to mate me with knight e7, but okay, I guess I can play g6. Am I mated here? Yeah, I agree with Titan Chess. I'm about to make this private chat. The idea was to be able to exchange important information, not other stuff. You can chat at some other place, no, but not here. What if Chief? Okay, let's stick to chess. Chess Ryo is saying something. Queen takes a5, 96. You have to help me, Ryo. I don't understand.
It's still 97. Yeah.
96. Right. So you get the pawn, right? You get the pawn. I guess I can play king g8. Okay, you can have this pawn, but I guess I'll stay alive here, right? Well, what would I play? So I'm losing this pawn, you mean? Because I would need to go home and pick and protect the pawn. But this cannot be so bad. Let's see here. What if I give this check first? Is this a clever idea or it's very silly? I thought about this so that if you take, I can perhaps give you a check, right? Let me tell you, if you see the game, you will understand that this is much better it's heaven for black compared to the game. Oh, Troy Boy says queen c7, and we actually trapped the knight. What a unfortunate knight. I mean, I could probably protect it, no, Troy Boy, but maybe you have some counterplay there. Chess Ryo says a clear white advantage. When do you say clear white advantage, Ryo? In my variation, here after queen a1 and... Really? Yeah, this is the way, right? Here. Okay, g3, I guess. Aha, and I play queen d7. Clear advantage, I'm surprised, but probably you saw something that I didn't see. My next move is knight d4, if I'm allowed to. You have a clear weakness on c2, don't you? Queen e5, all right. So now if I play knight e4, you'll take the pawn. I see what you mean. Yeah, maybe this is a bit uncomfortable for black. Yeah, maybe you're right. But okay, you're not touching the pawn anymore. So maybe queen c6, preparing queen knight e4. Also some trick here, maybe. Knight f5, says Eric. All right, I'll play queen f3 before you pick up my queen. If you say so, but I don't feel that bad with black here. Honestly, I think black is okay. It's much better than the game. I mean, look at my trade here. I was able to trade off this pawn for that pawn. Fantastic trade for black. No white passed pawn anymore. So I think this is okay for black. It should be holdable for black. Much stronger, of course, what Hong Pao and Anand played, knight g3. Also, Mega Charles Rex and Greg Shahadi, all of you got the right solution here. So that's how the game went, 94. Oh, by the way, some people were saying g4. So, like I was saying to you, this is perhaps good for some bullet game, but you want to somehow mate me, or I don't know what's the idea. However, I think black is fine. And I had like one last card. I was going to use it at some point. I could perhaps use it now. This is what I'm speaking about. It's like a last resort for black to take here. And if white takes, I'll take on a5. And I've claimed that I shouldn't lose this endgame, right? I should make a draw here. So Titan Chess says h6, g takes h6, and queen f6. Wow, that's impressive. How did you do that? At what point, you mean? I don't follow Titan Chess. When can you play h6? I mean, my last move is 94. I'm not in for any tricks like that. So, if black goes queen a7 or something. But if I go queen a7, I bet you'll play a6. It's like in a rook endgame, you know. Once you move your rook, the opponent will advance the pass pawn. Okay, but I see what you mean. h6 and bring in the queen and so on. All right, I think we know enough about this move, g4. Very interesting, but not really necessary. Much nicer what Anand played in the game. Knight e4. We're now in the very end of this game. Black played the move king g8. And here we have a nice move by Anand, by the way. So, should I quiz you for this one? Yeah, I'll quiz you. I'll quiz you for the next move, just to see if you can play in the spirit of Vishy Anand. Let's see here. Very pretty finish of this game. I'll ask you for the whole combination, okay? I'll ask you for the whole combination. 1 minute 30. All right? White to play and win. The first move is difficult, so spend your time on the first move. I'm sorry, Google Chess and Medina Tiger. I think I can defend her by doing nothing. Well, not nothing, really, but yeah, you can think for yourself what I will play. All right. Did anybody come up with... Nobody comes up with Anand's first move here. Oh. Wow. What about Greg? I'll pin my last hopes to Greg here. Because nobody else plays Anand's move. Nobody. Little Grandmaster. Okay, you showed your Grandmaster skills because you actually found the first move here. All right. I'll give you one hint. What can black do in this position? What if it was black to play? What would they play? Did you think about that? Which move is possible for black if it's them to play? I cannot see a single move for black. I mean, like a good move, like a solid move. So, Little Grandmaster, you're the only one who is really close on this one. Aha. All right. So, if you play Queen e5, I'll take the pawn, okay? Just for the record. Aha. All right, so let's check your different moves here. If you play Queen e5, like I told you, if I can get this pawn, I'll try to defend, and I think I should be okay. What was your idea? Knight f6, Knight e7. Okay, I understand. I have to go back now, right? Oh, well, I was not forced to do that, but... No, I have no reason to go back, do I? I can also play King e7. Or what did I miss? You mean you should take this pawn? Okay, fair enough. But that should be holdable, shouldn't it? This is not as big as advantage as the other one, so maybe I could play even like Queen c7. Is that bad for some reason? I think I should be able to hold this endgame. I mean, I have weaknesses, I understand, but I'm fairly active and so on. All right, let's listen to what you guys say. Queen a5, and I took the pawn. What did you want to play? Queen d6 check. All right, queen d6. No, sorry, at what moment? Knight f6, sorry, and now queen d6 check. All right. What do you have here? I don't see clearly. With my knight on e6 covering f8, also I cannot see where the mating picture is. Knight e8, all right. I'll go back. Let me know when you're about to mate me, because I can't see it. My main issue would be the pawn on f7, but I'm hoping that I will be able to defend it somehow. Queen d8 maybe. Anyway, what if knight f6, king f8? Yes, that's what we're talking about. g3 and then queen e5. Okay, so some people are saying knight e5 check straight away. Okay, please continue. What was your idea? What did you want to play next? Knight e7 and knight b8. Oh, I understand. To fight against the queen. All right, I understand. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But can I play queen d6? But careful, no. I have my tricks also here in this position. So I don't know. I don't think you're probably losing here, right? I can always play knight c7 if necessary. This cannot be correct, can it? Let me know if I'm mistaken, but my next move is, if I'm allowed to, I'll play knight c7. Queen a5 looks dangerous, says Troyboy. All right, but for whom? I'll play king, let's see. Oh, I don't have king. What if I go for an attack then? Oh no, I'm blundering. But actually, if I blunder it, I can. All right, let's take it slowly. If I just approach the king, I mean, if I approach the king, what is your idea here, Troyboy, if I just approach? Queen b6, I'll play knight c7. So now my queen can already move because I'm covering a8. So I don't think this works. Yeah, you can take the pawn and I'll get a little closer. I mean, if somebody will win this, it's probably black, right? Yeah, maybe perpetual. Yeah, maybe Troyboy. But I mean, we have such a good position that we should go for more. So I think there is one important thing that all of you should notice here. Anand, instead of looking exactly at what he can do, like knight f6 or queen e5 or knight e6 and so on, he's looking at what his opponent could do. And he notices that black's pieces are more tied up than ever. As usual, the queen has to avoid the advance of the a pawn, but this time the knight is also protecting the pawn on c5, and the king, obviously, it's exposed, because if you move the king to f8, for example, white will consider to give check and give check, and then they can try to attack this pawn. So basically, black doesn't have a solid move. Now, if you play c4, Titan chess, if you play c4, I guess I would love to trade there. You can take, and I guess I'll hurry to play b4. I hope this means some kind of relief for me. Well, oh, you mean black can play c4, right? But that's something like that will happen in the game. You know, they will play c4 in the game. But once you play c4, notice also that you're weakening several squares in your camp, and actually that's what happened in the game. Finally, somebody said something about the white king, so it makes sense also to give the king some more breathing space. By the way, nobody said queen f6. This was also an interesting move, but nobody suggested this, right? I thought at least. Oh yeah, Quacky and Pawnstorm. You talked about it. Yeah, that's an important move to understand, because we have a very strong threat here. If you look carefully, you can see that the knight is pinned. So actually, white is about to play something like knight e5. However, black can take the pawn, and now if you play knight e6, I guess I can just play here knight d8. And I'm not convinced that this is so bad for black. I mean, you can play knight e8 to give me mate, and I can probably just come back, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think black is alive in this position. My next move might be queen c7. Or maybe I could have played queen c7 straight away. Yeah, why not? Simpler, right? Simpler. So queen f6 is a good try, but it doesn't really lead anywhere at this moment. However, with c4 included, you will see that it's a different story. Anyway, so let's get going. Let's get going. Who said the right move? We had Little Grandmaster. All right, Little Grandmaster. What was the right move for white? If you're still around, Little Grandmaster. Else I can, of course, ask also Troyboy, because Troyboy also got it. But Little Grandmaster is around. G3, exactly. Typical useful move while we're waiting Black's next step here. Black is some kind of Zugzwang, as we were discussing. They have no solid move at this point. Nestorovic tried c4, and here Troyboy wanted to take, which should help Black, while Little Grandmaster played Queen e5, which again looked very interesting, but we have Queen takes a5. So
I thought bxc4 after Queen e5.
Yeah, but I mean, if you take, you will always help me, right, to create a passport of my own. So you shouldn't do that, I suppose. So what Anand did in the game, he just went for the attack. He just went for the attack here. So he played first, knight f6. Like I told you, there was a difference when you play c4. How can we exploit now that c4 was played? Anyone? Right. So, I mean, it's not so difficult. I told you, once you move a pawn, there will always be some kind of implication. Maybe this was not so obvious, but once we touch the c pawn, this pawn gets a little loose. So now there is a decisive double threat, right? Mate and taking the pawn. So black went back. I guess white could just have taken this pawn. They would win the game. But Anand found a much nicer move. So, anyone, which is the last move of this game? Or should I quiz it? Yeah, ChessDojo, you got it. That's exactly what happened. Mega Cholsox. Nice. Queen f6. So, yeah, 97 inevitable here. Black resigned because they are basically mated in this position after take and so on. Oh, quiz it. Yeah, but you already found the solution. So I don't know how difficult you find this endgame. I find it a little tricky. 8 moves was needed by Anand in order to win this endgame. It didn't look that big deal for white, but he played his cards in a very smart way. Knight f5 first, avoiding knight e4, and then h4, useful move, gaining some space. Many endgames are decided because of mistakes. If black played king g8, they might be able to hold here. They played h5, and now a very pretty move, knight e3. After that, knight e4, and it was already impossible to save black here. However, I think this move was very instructive, g3. Sometimes we should think a little less about our own plans and a little more about opponent's plans when we're playing in the endgame. I mean, even in superior endgames, you should think about your opponent's plans and so on. And here it turns out that black is actually running out of plans. They don't have any solid move. c4, unfortunately, exposes the pawn on b4. I forgot to tell you that there was another defense for black. They could have tried also, how was this variation? They could have tried they could have tried knight e4. So this was another option for black. Yeah, of course, white should not take this pawn because black is happy to eliminate the passer. So what you should play probably is just something like king f1 and try to approach the king. I think it's like a clear advantage, but it's not 100% clear that white will win. Because, I mean, for starters, you cannot just go and take the pawn. There will be some issue with queen f6. So black should play some... They don't want to move the queen, right? Because the pawn will run. So they'll play some waiting move here, like g5 or g6 maybe. Maybe put the pawns in a better shape. But once the queen moves out, maybe now we can start harassing the king with checks and so on. So who knows what will happen here? I mean, I wouldn't like to be in black's shoes. But maybe this is a lesser evil than the game. All right, let's move on. I wanted to show you a rook endgame also, because we didn't have any rook endgame so far. And here we have very, very nice rook endgame. It's not so famous, but it's played by a famous player, Swedish grandmaster, and one of the best female players of chess history, I would say. Pia Kamling is playing with white pieces in the... Yeah, you know her, ChessDojo. Great knowledge. So she played this game when she was fighting in the World Cup a few years ago. She made it to I think this was the semi-final, and she's playing against Pogonina, a very strong player from Russia. So This is the rook endgame that I'm speaking about. As you can see, we have some kind of Carlsbad structure where probably there were some pawns swapped off on the queen side, and then white at some point played f3, I guess. And there was e takes f3, or I don't know how they arrived there, or some kind of French structure with opposite colors, so whatever you like. So would anyone like to send me very quickly like a short summary of this position? How should we evaluate this endgame? Anyone? What do you think? What do you see here? What about pawn structure, activity, and so on? Aha, better for white, long-term pressure, says Rayo. Aha. Please remember, guys, sometimes when you play endgames, it makes sense to stop, no? Not calculate move by move, but also try to see it like in the bigger picture. Try to understand where are my plans, what should I do here, what is this about, what will my opponent do, and so on. So yeah, you're right, Savham. White has better pieces, more active pieces. Megax also says white structure is better, the rook is better, black's king is worse, and so on. Yeah, safe to say, huge impact here of the right active rook. It's tying the black rook to the pawn on d5, but as we all know, rook endgames, they always have a big margin for draws, right? So black still has reasonable chances for a draw. Okay, Troyboy is saying that king f2 is more flexible. We can sacrifice e4 and bring our king in. I understand what you mean. Something like bringing the king and play e4 and take and play king e3. I mean, if you don't want to sack, you can also just play king e2, king d3, and play e4. Aha, which makes sense because in that way you're creating a passed pawn. Nobody said this, but I mean, it's good for you to notice also what's going on the king side. Black would very much have preferred to have the pawn on g6 still, because in that way, at some point, they could create a passed pawn with f5, right? But now we have some kind of situation where two pawns are stopping three, right? So if white brings about this plan with king d3 and e4, safe to say they will have a passed pawn, while black won't be able to create a passed pawn that easily. So once you see this picture, you can also see that if we get to this situation and white is able to swap rooks, that would be very good news for white. Probably they should be winning in that pawn endgame, unless there is some fast counterplay for black on the queen side. So, yeah. So Troyboy is saying also something about eventual h5 might not help white too much. All right. So how should we look at this? Let's have a quick look at what happens if white plays king e2. Okay, black is forced to wait passively here. They cannot not give up this pawn. I mean, it would be great to give up a pawn to achieve counterplay, but there is no such thing here for black. So they will probably just have to wait. So you can bring up the king and I'll wait there. But once you go e4, I can take, and as you can see, I have some hopes of counterplay. I could play something like rook e6, maybe rook f6, trying to get here. If you play rook f5, I can play rook e6. And yeah, for sure, black is struggling here, but still they have some chances of saving this game. Also, I have one plan of trying to swap pawns at some point. If I can arrange that, I mean, if I can play b6 and make sure that you cannot reply a6 or a6 is not dangerous, then it's also good news for black to be able to swap pawns and restrict the battle to one single flank, so to speak. So I'm pretty sure that Kramnik, she thought about this. She knew that this was an option for her. But then she said, why should I hurry in this endgame? After all, my opponent cannot improve in any possible way. So then she found a very smart plan. And that's the plan that I will quiz you for now. All right? To make this a little more entertaining, I'll quiz you for the best plan for white. All right? I think 1 minute should be enough. All right, here we go. How can we open up a new front in this position? Where on the board should we create a new front? Where could that happen? I understand your point, Eric, Adichess, Robo, and Troyboy. I understand, but let me tell you that once you go after my pawn, I'll attack your pawn on e3. I'll make sure that you cannot take my pawn with check. So I'll go for your pawn on, or maybe I don't care about that, actually. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so Medina Tiger and ChessDojo, your move is also okay, probably. I'm sorry that I can only provide you with one correct move. Okay, Mega Charles, Rex, and Hong Kong, you're very close. Sorry.
My idea was to play that move.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, I cannot. Quacky got it. Nice. It's impossible for me to build in extra choices. There can only be one correct solution. Okay, so Quacky and Smiling Floor, you got it right. But most probably also Medina Tiger, says Ryu, and Pikachu, you were on the right track. So okay, Quacky, please go ahead. How do you play with white here? Right, King G2. I mean, you can definitely step on F2. Maybe she just wanted to avoid a check, but it doesn't matter, of course. So King G2. If you play, by the way, some people were saying here, I wanted to address that first. You said H4 straight away. The idea is correct, of course, to play King G2 and then take the pawn. That's what she achieved in the game. However, here what I could do is, we all know as active defense. So once white is about to take this pawn, what do you think black should play? Anyone? Okay, let's flip the board. What about active defense here? All right, I'll quiz you on this one then. I'll quiz you, yeah, to make it more fun. Right. Active defense, please. You're very close to Titan chess, but in that case, I can give check and go back with the rook. Medina Tiger, I'll give check again and I'll go home with the rook. So you probably shouldn't put your king there. Alg, 19, you got it. Pikachu, you got it. Smiling Floor, I'll give check. Santos, I'll give check and I'll go back with the rook. So, yeah, Alg, Pikachu, and Hong Pao, you got the right answer. What else? Tactical Magician. Yeah, I understand, but that's not active defense, is it? Oh, well, we'll see. It depends on how you define it, of course. So a lot of people want to play King C6. But why do you play King C6 if I have the check on C5? ChessDojo is also in that group. All right, so Alg 19, please go ahead. How do you play with black? So that's the idea. Rook E6, hitting the pawn on E3, which cannot be protected by the white king. And here we should put the king on E7. So for all of you who said King C6, I understand the spirit of this move. But I mean, why on earth should you let me protect the pawn? Then I could go and take that pawn. Careful, I have now connected pastors, so that's good news for me. Of course, you're right, Alg 19. King E7 is the right move. Now rook takes E3 is a big threat. And I think if you play here rook E5, I guess it's even dangerous for you, right? My issue. What do you mean, Ryu? Oh, you want to... That's what you were looking at. Okay, let's have a look. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, black, in order to save themselves in this position, they have to be a little careful. So I'll quiz this one for you guys. All right, 30 seconds. Make up your mind. Okay, HDI chess, you got it. Aha. Well, I'm quizzing you because it's not the obvious move. So that's, yeah, everybody understood this. Okay, yeah, good work. It was very simple. Aha. But remember, when you play a game, it's easy to play a move like King E4, right? You just say that, okay, I'll go for their pawn and then we'll see what happens. But you have to play in the other way. Yeah, a few people actually fell into the trap and they played King E4 here. But the rest of you, like HDI chess, they got it right. So HDI chess, what should you play with black here? Aha, important to play that move, right? So now, as you can see, black is just in time to liquidate the black pawn, the white pawn, I mean, after. Yeah, I don't know if we need to check this, but we can, of course, play out the moves. All right. I'm pretty sure this will end in a draw, right? Black is not able to protect the pawn, but they can, of course, go and take the white pawn. So this will end in a draw. All right, let's go back. However, if you play the natural move King E4, you actually lose this game, because here I'll pick up the pawn in a better situation, and white wins. So summing up, the idea of H4 is excellent, but we shouldn't play H4 straight away. We should use our king to help this plan. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's go for the... Who was... somebody was talking about this. I don't remember anymore who was saying this, but okay, let's continue. So King G2 Pia Kramling is sending her king to g3 so that she can play h4. Now, of course, there is no chance that black can play like this. It would just be a pawn down, right? Or did I? Yeah, you just go back with the king, right? Sorry, I'm a little tired. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. So yeah, that's the reason why. So black just had to, Pogonina had to just wait, king d8. h4. So now this is what superior endgames are about. Put your opponents into difficult situations and hope that they will make a bad choice. Because I think that black can still make a draw here. But they have a difficult choice here. Should they allow white to play h5? Or should they allow the white king to enter h5? What do you guys think? I mean, just by intuition, what would you expect? Which is the lesser evil? I mean, which is the least of evils? To take and let the king enter, or have them playing h5? What do you think? Don't take, allow h5, says Mega Charles Rex. Medina Tiger, keep the pawn on g5. So you're saying the same thing. Titan says, let white go h5. Keep the pawn on, takes as Pikachu, but it's 4-1 for not taking. Only one student wants to take. And the rest of you are probably thinking, trying to calculate or trying to understand what's going on. But I mean, imagine you're sitting with this endgame. You're probably down to like 10 minutes here. It won't be easy to calculate everything. You need some kind of, how can I say, some kind of pattern recognition here. I'm afraid, some kind of intuition. So, yeah, I know the answer. So, who was right here? Let's see again. Who said? Yeah, Pikachu, you got it. I don't know exactly the variation that you looked at, but you're right. Black should have taken this pawn. Also, please remember, the more pawns we trade, the better if we're defending. So this was the right choice if you look from black's perspective. This was the right choice. I mean, it looks horrible to let white bring in the king, but black would still have chances of saving this endgame. So we'll wait again, and white can come a little closer, and we would still wait here. So it's up to white to show how they can improve in this position. Of course, natural step here would be rook b5, so that we can tie a black piece to the b pawn also. So black would play something like king c7, and I think there are two ways in which we could try to win with this with white. So I'm curious to find out which one do you like the most. I think there are two ways in which you can try to win here. So we are speaking about opening a new front. So we succeeded, right? We have a new front here, the pawn on h6. We also have a weakness there, and we have a weakness here. So that's why also when they speak about two weaknesses, sometimes I think it's not the right expression, because there can be more than two weaknesses. Here is like multiple weaknesses. So could we keep the history of Spartans and I mean, it's really interesting Greek history, ancient Greece and so on. But let's stick to the subject. This is for sure the last example that we will look at today. So the chat is for chess, not fighting or whatever. I agree with Little Grandmaster. So anyone, it's white to play Pikachu. It's white to play here. So G5 says Mega Charles Rex. This goes against the logics of the position because you're helping me to trade pawns. I don't think this is working. I guess one move that I could consider here is rook e6, right? So there are coming off many pawns of the board. I guess I'm probably saving myself. All right, so Medina Tiger, Pikachu, you have an interesting idea. Oh, Mega Charles Rex, you want to continue? Well, you want to continue. Could I give check and come back and go with the king, maybe? Could I play like this and king c6? I think I'm alive here. I'm not dropping any of my pawns, I think, here. Yeah, I feel alive and kicking in this position. So let's check what Medina Tiger and Pikachu are saying. That's a very interesting move. So when I looked at this endgame the first time, I thought that this move was winning. Now we will end up in a queen endgame, right? Black is forced to take. White will take here. The king should go somewhere. This is always a little tricky decision. Where would you put your king here, anyone? I mean, we're going to queen, right? But so is white. And the pawn will also queen. Where would you like to have your king? Any opinion? But you will queen first. So it's not like I'll queen and pick up the queen somehow. Yeah, let's say king c6, the most logical move. So let's continue. All right. So this is basically what would happen. So I'm curious to know what you think about this endgame. Let's see. These moves are basically forced. So we get into this position. So at first sight, I think we could conclude that it looks a bit nasty for black, right? Queen f5, king e7, and queen e6 is coming up. However, I think that black can make a draw here without that much effort. Anyone, what do you think black should play here? Anyone? Okay, you can give check on f1 also, little grandmaster, but still I'd play king e7. So, can anyone find a plan for black here? If you were unlucky enough to end up in this endgame with, let's say, 3 minutes on the clock, what would you play here? Exactly, just right, you got it. Congratulations, that's what you should play. King b5, active defense. I mean, even if it loses, this would be the right choice. Aha, try to bring in the king and try to attack this pawn. Who knows what will happen here? White will... no, you cannot. There is no perpetual Titan chess. Careful, your checks are over. I can play queen e6. Try to keep the king away from the squares where it can be checked by the white queen, right? So this makes a lot of sense. You kind of hide it behind the white pawns or something like that. All right. Oh, my video is lagging. Yeah, sorry, but it's important. We're about to finish also. Maybe my connection is getting worse. I don't know. Anyway. Let me see if I can improve my connection. Okay, I'll see if I can improve my connection. All right. I hope now it's better. So basically, this is the idea. This is the idea. In this way, we're able to save ourselves with king d6, king c4. It's not clear that white will win this endgame. I mean, queen e6. Maybe you can play queen f3, I guess. Of course, it's still tricky. I understand it's still tricky, but it's not necessarily losing for black. So yeah, that's about rook b6. That's about rook b6. But I think there is a better way in which we can continue here. There is a better way. All right. So anyone, we're speaking about 4 weaknesses, right? 4 weaknesses. Which of these do you think we should attack at this point? Anyone? Election day. So many weaknesses. Which of these weaknesses do you think is the least protected from black, so to speak? Aha, the f pawn. So maybe you should focus on that pawn. Right? Anyone? I guess you're tired also, guys. It has been a long class today. So we'll finish off very soon. Yeah, okay, Titan chess. You can move now. Okay. Titan chess, you have the pawn. Right. So rook b1, of course, everybody will say, hey, but what's this about? I can just play rook f6 and I defend everything. However, we're back on the same page as before. I'll type it here. I'll type something for you to think of. All right. So don't think so much about what you would like to do. Think about what they can do. Sorry, miss typing there. Okay, you can give check, but I can then move my king. But let's go back to this position, Titan chess. So what can they play here? If it's black to play, I would argue that each and every... Don't play g5, by the way. You're helping me to play rook f5, aren't you? No, sorry, you can then take the pawn. Sorry, bad tactics. I'm happy to reduce the number of pawns, okay? This is not convincing. Please, try to understand what I'm saying. If it's black to play, exactly, you got it, Titan chess. You just lose a move here, because no matter what black plays, look for yourself. There is some kind of concession involved. If you move the rook along the f-file, you're losing track of this pawn. If you move the rook along the 6th rank, like, let's say, rook e6, what would you play then, Titan chess? Of course, rook f2 is coming up. We'll take this pawn, we'll take that pawn, and we'll hope that this pawn will win the game for us. And also you can see that the king moves are not good either. Definitely we cannot cross the we cannot cross the 7th rank, and also we cannot move away from the pawn. And finally, if we play king c8, Titan chess, what do you think white will play? Please hurry up, Titan chess. Exactly, rook b6, you got it. So everybody understands. Actually, we're speaking about 4 weaknesses, but we could also say that actually the b6 square is also some kind of weakness, right? It's not a pawn, but it's like a weak square. It's another front, maybe you could say. No matter how you like to express this, but the important thing is to understand the whole way of thinking. We cannot identify a solid move for them, just like Anand couldn't see a solid move for black, and that's why he played this smart move g3 in the previous example. So here's the same story. I'm not sure how black should proceed here. Maybe they can make a draw somehow, but I don't know how, because if you play rook here also, I play rook f2, and again you have an issue with this pawn. So maybe they can give check and they can play rook g7, but look at that rook. Horrible, right? So Titan chess, what would you play now? Yeah, no, exactly. No thinking required. You see? Horrible. Now I guess black is lost because, yeah, they have to play rook h7 if they want to save the pawn, and that's not possible to put the rook in such a place in the endgame. So I don't know what would happen here. Maybe black can make a draw somehow. I guess I would have to play rook e6 then and take this pawn and hope that some kind of counterplay here, take the pawn and whatever. But as you can see, at least white has practical chances to win here. The g pawn is close to queening. When the black rook was on g5, what about king takes h6? When the black rook was on g5. Yeah, I mean, I don't like this move, of course. You mean take on h6? But I take and you take. Are you sure this is this beneficial for white? I'm not convinced about that. The white king is not well placed now. So I don't think this is convincing. So that's why I wanted to just keep the pawn like that. All right. What about rook a6? Rook a6. Right, maybe that's the best move. Okay, rook a6. Fair enough. You're creating a passed pawn for yourself. I guess white will play rook f2 and you take and I take. You play king c6, I guess, and I take and you play b5. Exactly, we have some kind of race coming up here. So who knows? Maybe black can save this, but I wouldn't fancy to be in black's shoes here. I guess maybe I should give this check before they can improve. And should I run here? I don't know. But I mean, this is not really relevant. It's enough one quick look at this position to see that black is still suffering to save themselves here. Maybe Stockfish would tell you equality. Who knows? But for humans, you can bet that this is going to be a difficult case for black. Yeah, the rook is badly placed, of course, on a5. But yeah, who knows? Maybe black can save it, but looks scary for black. So still, I think this was the best choice for black. Now you will say that, okay, this is losing. But I don't know. I'm just telling you what I analyzed. If black takes, they achieve a trade of pawns, which should help them. But still, like we're discussing here, white could then use this smart plan of attacking the pawn on f7. And it seems to me that in this position, after losing a tempo here, that's the other variation. What did black play? After rook b1 and black plays rook f6, you lose a move here. Or you can play the other way around also, of course. You can play rook b2, and if rook f6, you can play rook b1. In my opinion, this is very promising for white. All right, so let's wrap it up. It's already we're already a bit over the time. Let's see what happened in the game. In the game, they played. They just waited with king d7. And anyone, what do you think white played at this point? Of course, Hong Pao, you're completely right. They played h5, they fixed his weakness. And now, please remember, we looked at the very beginning at the idea of bringing the king to d3 and play this position, right? We saw that it was interesting for white. We saw this position. But, I mean, imagine for yourself that you have the pawn on h5. Huge difference, right? Because black will have a new weakness on h6. So that's what Kramling noticed in the game. So now she goes for this plan. Notice that she's not in a hurry. She doesn't play here the move e4. Why doesn't she play e4? What would black play then? Anyone? Very quickly. Rook f6. Of course, Mega Chotswex. Rook f6, you take, you play rook f4, and you have some counterplay. So don't hurry. We should simply avoid any opponent's counterplay. King d3, and now, of course, the time is almost right to play e4. Before e4, we play a last preparatory move. Anyone with white pieces, what would you play? Last, exactly, Titan Chess, RZ, exactly, Rook b5 first, so that we also fix the black king. I have another question for you. What if king c6? Anyone? What would happen here? Let's see if you and me, we can agree on this. 1 minute. What would white play? In this case, please remember what we talked about, right? 2 pawns, top 3 on the king side. What does that mean? That's right, HDI Chess, Robo, Mega Chots, Rex, you got it. We move into a winning pawn game. Right, Tactical Magician, RZ 2018, that's completely right. So, yeah, most people got this right. That's great. Okay, Hong Pao, I guess your move, but if you play that, I'll play King e6 and f5. So, maybe mouse slip, because that's not a natural move, right? King c3. All right, Charles, you want to, but you're dropping the rook, Charles. You're hanging the rook. All right, time's up. Let's ask Robo. What about this, Robo? How do you continue with white here? Yeah, please go ahead, Robo. Yeah, Hong Pao, no problem. I guess that. Okay, Robo. Right. So, time to transpose into the pawn game. Yeah, this is very important to play this before black doesn't even have a chance of playing f5. So, unless this was not clear, please notice white will win this extremely simply because we have 2 pawns stopping 3. Okay, I could of course also say, okay, I won't swap, but this doesn't make a big difference, right, Rob? Yeah, I think there is no way you can go wrong here, so don't worry. Yeah, you can play that. I mean, you could also wait 1 move so that you can then come back and take the opposition. I don't know if this makes a big difference, but okay, you took straight away. Okay, please go ahead, Robo. It's the same thing, right, Robo? Yeah, right. So if king c4, you will just queen, right? Yeah, I don't think it's important. No, I'm just saying RZ that you could play it like that if you like. I don't know. Is this tricky or? Probably not. No, it's not tricky. No, you just win in many different ways, right? Yeah. So please notice, guys, this. Oh, really? Are you calculating this to the very end? I might be very tired, but it seems to me that. Oh, okay, right. You take the pawn. You're right. All right. So that's probably possible. But I was saying that you can probably just take and then also win it, right? Or my point is that thanks to this space being gained by the h pawn, you will queen and black won't. So I guess there should be different ways of winning this. So king takes f6 only. Oh, there was a dark side to this. What could you play? Sorry, anyone. What did black for king? Oh, I understand Google chess. Oh, I think I understand. No, I don't understand because. And black wins. Yeah, that's fantastic. So there was a way in which we can actually lose the game with white also. Interesting. I guess black is winning now. Yeah, so don't, how do you say, don't be too confident. Always a little careful about your opponent's counter chances. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is easy to understand. The space that you have gained by playing h4, h5, it will be very helpful in any pawn race. So that's where we're going right now. But I mean, also you have other ways of winning this, right? Who was this? Robo. You could also play king f5 straight away, and my king. Maybe this way you can win it, right? If you really love this idea of not taking the pawn, but okay, it seems simpler to take it. Anyway, so Robo is right. We should swap rooks here because then we play e4 and we win the game thanks to our superior pawn structure. But that didn't happen in the game because black also noticed, of course. So they just waited here. They waited. And finally, white was able to bring about their key plan here. So king c7 was played in the game. What did white played? I mean, it's simple, no? Yeah, of course, mega X, you got it. It's time to push e4. So here we go. White spent 10 moves in order to reach this position, but it paid off. Now we have another weakness here. This pawn is close to queening in the event of black losing the h pawn. So it's already very difficult to save black here. White has the passed pawn, and they're also favored by having pawns on the opposite flank. So rook f6 was played in the game. How did white cope with this threat? Anyone? Of course, rook f5. We already know that the pawn endings are favorable to white. Rook e6, king d5, rook d6, and white played king c4. That's right, Robo. Oh, you're playing the moves. Okay, nice. Because now if rook c6, what would white play, Robo? Yeah, we learned a lesson here. No, I thought we had learned a lesson already. Anyone else? Yeah, Titan, so you're right, rook c5. We'll swap rooks again. Yeah, just in case, there is no issues with the f5, right? There is no issues. We're inside the square, so we can safely take and we'll win the game, right? Because these pawns, they defend each other mutually, right? So white doesn't have to fear that check. They played here in the game f6, but this is a clear concession. So now I will ask you something. Can anyone figure out what is the main... Wait, okay, Robbie, I'm sorry. I will have to revoke the pawn here. Can anyone tell me in words, write in the chat, what is the main problem with this move for black? What does it mean? What does it imply for white's plans in this endgame? How did white exploit the fact that black played f6? Okay, h6 is not protected. Okay, that's true. Black is in Zugzwang. Well, so. The black rook is always tied. Quokkie says something interesting. Move the king up. How should I understand that? Not Zugzwang. Move the king up. Could you be a little more specific, Quokkie? What do you have in mind? What is white's killing plan here? G6 and E6. Yeah, you're right, Pikachu. That's a good way of seeing it. These squares became very weak now. All right, that's correct, Mega X and Quokkie. The king will go to G6. Maybe this is not obvious at first sight. You would perhaps rather think that, okay, now the rook is not defending the pawn, so let's see if we can reroute the rook somehow, bring the rook to attack it. However, that's not what white is up to here. Yeah, you can join Little Grandmaster in his classroom after this lesson. That sounds like an excellent idea. We're about to finish, so right. Let's continue. In the game, they played here the move, seeing that the king would like to go to G6. This is white's key plan. The rook should go out of the way. They played here the move rook b5. However, it was also possible to play like I think Robo was saying, no, and bring over the king. This should also be a good idea for white. But I like the way she played. Rook b5, tying the king, slowly preferring this mortal plan of bringing the king to G6. So in the game, black played rook e6. White continued with their plan with king d5. As you can see now, if rook d6, what would white play? Anyone? Okay, very simple question, but just to see if you're awake. Yeah, of course, king e4 and the king is coming to g6. So Pogonina didn't let that happen. She played rook e3. Okay, just to see if you're awake. What did white play? Not difficult, of course. Of course, Robo and Hong Pao, we're working on the weaknesses here. Titan Chess, L008, Unicorn, Sprinkles, Google Chess, Tactical Magician. Yeah, that's the ability to work on different weaknesses, right? That's what we're doing right now. So Quokkie also got it. That's the way to work here. Patiently, we're exploiting every move they make, try to take advantage of the fact that the rook left the e file, the 6th rank, sorry. So Hong Pao, what was your move here? Okay, we can see what Hong Pao says. Exactly, rook b6. Black had to play here rook f3. Hong Pao, this should be very easy for you. What's going on here? Black is about to take those pawns, but that doesn't matter because we have our hero. Yeah, this pawn, don't give it away, okay? It might be needed at some moment. Of course, we are now, we're about to take that pawn. As you can see, that's too much for black to handle. So rook e4 was played in the game. How do I make it chessable, class? Yeah, just try it. Bring up your examples, PGN format, or use the board if you like to set up the position. Okay, Hong Pao, we're waiting for you. Exactly. Rook takes d4. You could just go for the pawn, of course, if you like. That's certainly possible. Kramnik played in the game d6. Doesn't make a big difference, I think. And she just went with the king to take the pawn. Yeah, we can see very quickly what happened here. Black is unfortunately completely lost here. This is another good picture for you guys to notice. Once your opponent has a pawn like that, you can exploit the fact that they cannot give you checks, right? It's like the shelter, what I call the shelter. So you can hide behind that pawn. So that's what happened in the game. No reason to be afraid of that pawn. We should rather be happy that this pawn is around. It doesn't let black give checks to the against the white king. So rook h1. What do you play now, Hong Pao? Some last precaution, maybe some little precaution here. We don't want black to queen, right? Of course, rook b2, so that we can cover the pawn. If rook h2, of course, you can just go rook b1. Rook h4 was played in the game. Okay, Hong Pao, L008. You haven't made a single move today, L. So L, you're up. Okay, you can move the pieces now. Okay, go for it, L008. Why to play and win? No way you can mess this up, L008. Okay, L, yeah, exactly. So, can I give you checks in the back? I don't think so, no. You don't have enough space, right? You don't have enough space. Exactly, that's how the game went. Remember, the king loves to move in zigzag fashion. If rook g4, you're ready to go, of course, king h5. Right, the game went like this, king d7, Kramnik took that pawn, and then back home. And yeah, we're very close to winning now because we have also the other pawn. That's something good about our position. So yeah, the rest is simple. Finally, black resigned here. Yeah, this was an important game. It was qualifying for the final in the World Cup a few years ago. So of course, black fought on to the bitter end. So very, very complex endgame. If you want to get some kind of main takeaway from this game, just remember Kramnik's plan here. Bring the king to g3, push h4. If they take, you take back, and you try to fight against this pawn in some way. Don't forget this nice rook transfer. Else, just push the pawn to h5, bring the king to d3 and play e4, and then hopefully you'll be able to attack this pawn later on. Yeah, very, very nice endgame. One of my favorite rook endgames, safe to say. Okay, very quickly, this is how the game went, just so that you can have a quick recap of what happened. So please notice we're very, very much favored by having included this move h5. If the pawn was still on h3, perhaps it would be a draw, but now it's not. Please notice that black is very sad that they have to play f6. They would love to not to play f6. They would love to stay like that, but you can see for yourself, too many weaknesses to handle here. They had to play f6, and here we saw the final plan, just bring in the king to g6 one way or another. All right, guys, I think that's it. I hope you liked this lesson. Thanks a lot, and see you next time. And don't forget to join the Little Grandmaster's lesson, okay? Thanks, and bye.